Yeah, this is Desaliny. I'd like to talk today about what might be turning into a kind of a new recurring feature. Might be. Um, but before I tell you more about that, I'm just going to kind of fill you in on the background, kind of my inspiration for doing this. So, if you're in the UK, you may already know about this, but I'll fill it in for everyone from anywhere else in the world. In 2011, BBC Four, the TV station, started doing reruns of a TV show called Top of the Pops. It is the kind of the classic UK music chart show, which ran from the 60s all the way through into the 2000s. And what was interesting about this was that BBC Four decided to start showing episodes in their entirety in exactly the same slot on a Thursday night, 7:30 p.m, that the original show aired in. And they were showing them from 1976. They chose this year because that was essentially a period when they had a fully kind of uninterrupted run of shows, because the BBC was notorious for losing tapes or blanking tapes and reusing material. But from 1976, they had essentially a kind of a full set of Top of the Pops shows that they could run. So they decided to start running them in the Top of the Pops slot, essentially kind of time shifted by 35 years. So if you'd watched something on the 1st of April in 1976, then you'd be watching it on more or less the 1st of April in 2011. There were a few kind of problems with this, in that there were various kind of legal reasons why they couldn't show certain shows. But essentially they stuck to this kind of time shifting idea. And I thought it was fantastic. It's like kind of this kind of time machine journey back into kind of musical past. And yeah, it was, whilst they were able to kind of keep the shows running in essentially the same slot, time shifted by the same amount of time, it was just a really nice experience to be able to tune in on a Thursday night and watch the Top of the Pop shows as you may have remembered them if you were young enough to remember them, and just kind of soak up the atmosphere. So that was my inspiration. And what I've decided to try and do is to kind of repeat this kind of time-shifted watch-along kind of format, but using the NME, the New Musical Express. This was kind of one of the longest running weekly music papers in the UK. It ran from about 1952 all the way through till, I think it was about 2017, 2018 that they stopped doing a print edition. The NME still exists as a kind of a web-only resource. But yes, during my kind of formative years, the NME was one of what we call the Inkies. It was the NME, the Melody Maker, and Sounds were the main ones. And these were all weekly music kind of newspapers, which had a kind of focus on pop music, alternative music, pop culture. You know, it would cover TV, films, movies, everything really. And I happen to have kept an uninterrupted run of the NMEs from about the tail end of 1988 through to the very, very end of 1992. So the plan is to pick a copy of the NME from 33 years ago. So we'll be looking at 1989. I chose 33 because, you know, it's just a nice number for music obsessives, you know. And we will just kind of look through a copy of the magazine, which would have come out at around about the same time, 33 years previously. So, quick disclaimer, because there could be issues, or I foresaw that there could be issues with copyright and copyright law. I've double checked, and UK copyright law is such that it protects magazine, periodical, newspaper layouts for a period of 25 years after their first publication. So with a time frame of 33 years, he should be on the right side of the law to at least look at the magazine layouts. Just to be clear, I'm doing this for the purposes of review and cultural, historical critique. So I think that also constitutes fair use. So I'm prepared to kind of give this a go. I'm aware that there will be individual writers who contributed articles to the NME, so I'm not going to be focusing in really tightly on the full text of articles. I may just read out very small sections, but I'm not here to kind of reproduce whole pieces. I may kind of choose to zoom in or maybe focus on certain features, but I will try and restrict that to things which aren't necessarily kind of written pieces. So maybe we'll look at things like, listings or schedules or charts of the day. But we'll try and keep a kind of a safe distance when it comes to individuals' written work and the photographers. But yeah, the main interest of this is just as a kind of a piece of fun and a kind of a critique and a review of the NME as a kind of a pop cultural artifact. It's certainly a publication that I read religiously, and it gave me a window on lots of music that I just wasn't aware of any other way. So if this does turn into a regular feature, you could consider this the first episode. Any subsequent run-throughs, episodes I do, I probably won't have all this bump at the beginning, but for the time being, I did just want to kind of lay out what I was thinking of doing. But anyway, on with the first episode, which will be NME+33, and that will be from the 9th of September, 1989. The next thing you'll see will be the magazine with me kind of reading through it. So yeah, please do just comment below if you enjoy this feature and if you'd like to see more episodes. I certainly have the material to do it. It's just a case of, is this something that people actually want to see 33 years after these magazines and newspapers came out? We'll see. But in the meantime, enjoy the read through. Okay, here we go. Yes, this is the NME from the 9th of September 1989. Just a quickie on the dating of the issues. The NME, and I think all the other weekly music press, was released basically on a Wednesday, and the date of each issue would be for the following Saturday. So this would have come out on Wednesday the 6th of September. But yeah, all the dates refer to the weekend following its midweek release. You'll also notice it was, at this point, it was 55 pence, which I guess equates to about, well, given the exchange rates of the day, that would have been about $1 an issue. So, yeah. Yeah, so the main feature of the cover this week is John Peel's 50th birthday. It was a special episode of The John Peel Show where they had a big party and a concert with various people playing for John Peel. And you can see 3 of the attendees there. That's David Gedge, the wedding present, on the left. Ian McCulloch, just above John. And then to the right, it's Guy Chadwick from the House of Love. So yeah, that was the big feature this week, along with a big feature on the Reading Festival, which had happened the weekend before, always the August bank holiday weekend. And a couple of big features on, they always had like a big pop feature, some kind of pop artist. So it looks like that this week was Bobby Brown. Anyway, let's get into it. Yes, the news pages. Yeah, just the news of the day, the kind of music news of the day, things that were happening. One interesting thing in the top right there is just some information about the NME circulation figures, close to 100,000 copies a week there. So that gives you some idea of the kind of coverage, the number of copies they sold. Yeah, so some tour and gig news, some news about Adam Clayton there, various kind of touring features there, something at the bottom about the Stone Roses doing some dates and the Happy Mondays. Some news in the very bottom right corner about CJ Ramone replacing Dee Dee Ramone in the Ramones. Okay. And the rest of the news, yeah, mostly kind of assorted kind of tour announcements, the usual kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a small piece about Robert Smith potentially recording a solo album. I don't think that ever actually happened. Yeah, I think there was some kind of rumours at the time following Disintegration that he was going to do something solo, but I don't think that ever happened. Yeah, okay. So that was the news for this week. Lots of, as I say, lots of kind of record release and tour release news and things like that. Okay, this is Thrills. So this was kind of like the little kind of the funny pages, the joke kind of pages. So they'd have some kind of quotes from people throughout the week or historical quotes. There's the Biz Miller feature, which always kind of highlights some classic, either bad or ridiculously funny or just kind of overly pretentious lyrics. And yes, on the facing page, yeah, just some more stuff about John Peel to tie in with this week's issue. And yeah, a kind of returning feature called Material World, where they would just basically interview a band or an artist about some of their favourite things, all kind of quite light-hearted stuff. But yeah, these were kind of weekly features. Okay, this is the On feature. So yeah, On would be kind of up-and-coming artists and things like that. Just little short kind of features on things that the kind of the writers of the NME were kind of picking up on and wanted to kind of give a little bit of column space to. So yeah, who's this by? Oh, this bit is edited by Steve Lamacq, who did go on to some kind of some fame and still does present radio shows. So yes, he's on Radio 6 Music. Anything else on this page of interest? Oh, in the turn-ons, you'll notice down in the list of the 10 things that are kind of up-and-coming, bubbling under things that come with some of the writers and the editors were listening to. You'll see Nirvana's Bleach album there at number 3, because, of course, that came out in this year. Moving on, let's have a look. Okay, so this is an interview feature with the Blue Nile. I think this is just prior to the release of their Hats album, because there'd been quite a gap between the previous album and Hats. And what next? Yeah, so this is the feature about John Peel's 50th birthday party. Yeah, as I mentioned, there were lots of celebrity guests, and you can see some of the photos here. Various people chatting amongst themselves, some people playing on stage. I think the sets were the House of Love, the Weddos, the Wedding Present they played, and The Fall played, of course, John Peel's favourite band, I think, of all time, probably. And they did play a special Gene Vincent cover version at John Peel's request. So, which was quite an odd thing for The Fall to do, because they were notoriously kind of difficult in that way, but they bowed to popular pressure there and let John kind of suggest a number for them to perform. And on the following page, yes, an interview feature with John Peel on the weekend of his 50th birthday. Yeah. The last paragraph is quite nice. John's quote. He describes himself. I'll just read it. It says, "I'm an amazingly lucky bloke, really. All of the things I wanted when I was 12, I've got. I wanted a job on the radio playing records. I wanted to be happily married with a lot of children and a few dogs and live in the country. And I am. And that's pretty good." So there we go, John Peel, who did, of course, sadly die in 2004 at the age of only 65. So yeah, a big kind of figure in the music world of the UK around about this time. Yeah, Public Enemy. This was kind of like basically kind of the gossip pages. Sort of lots of photos and tales of people out clubbing and who's been seen with who and where. Like I say, kind of like a gossip page. I mean, this is where the NME kind of shows itself as the kind of the tabloid style music journalism of the day. Yeah, nothing much else to say about that, really. Okay, moving on. Yeah. Mick Jones, ex of The Clash and of, at this time, of Big Audio Dynamite. Kind of a big double-page interview with him. I think their album Megatop Phoenix was being released very shortly. It was around about this time. Yeah. Okay, so this is the Word Up feature where, they'll just kind of highlight some books that had come out that were worthy of their reviews. Often these were kind of like, music-focused books, but not always. Sometimes they would cover, some of the cooler kind of edgier fiction of the day. All right, yes, the singles pages. Yeah, so singles of the week this week, joint singles of the week were Happy Mondays and WFL, and The Wonder Stuff with Don't Let Me Down Gently. Some others we can pull out of this list who have been reviewed: New Order, Run 2, The Mighty Lemon Drops, Into the Heart of Love, some more indie type stuff, The Caretaker Race, Ghost Dance, our goth band there. Who else done here? Oh, Napalm Death on Earache Records, and A Certain Ratio as well. Yeah, at that point releasing on A&M on a major label, not on Factory. Okay, Ride the Dolphin. Yeah, this is kind of another kind of recurring kind of funny piece, a kind of comic kind of writing, usually poking fun at something or another. In this case, it's new age music. I think this week it's I think it was the same every week actually. It's written by David Quantick and Stephen Wells, or Swells as he was known. It was kind of the antagonistic kind of funny guy of the NME writing, editing kind of crew. Interesting one here, Speed Kills. I didn't remember this until I just picked this issue up, but they did run a kind of a regular, kind of hardcore, kind of punky focused feature. So I don't remember how much longer this ran for, but there it is here this week with an interview with Dan But No Bacon of Chumbawamba. Okay, one of the other kind of pop kind of interviews, a feature with Barry White. You can tell they weren't taking this too seriously because they sent Stephen Wells to do this piece, and you'll notice at the bottom as well there is a direct quote from Barry White, which I'm not going to repeat because it's pretty shocking. But there you go. Make of that what you will. And on the facing page, yes, an interview with Christy Moore at the time of releasing one of his albums. Okay, media. So this was the regular feature looking at film and video releases and the like. So an interview with Steven Soderbergh and a review of his debut film, I believe, Sex, Lies and Videotape, which I think had done rather well at the Cannes Film Festival that year. And a kind of a rundown of some of the current films on release at the time, so stuff like Batman and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And on the next page, yes, we have some music video releases, the VHS releases now. So these are kind of like, compilations of videos or live videos, that kind of thing. So, yeah, stuff from like, who have we got there? Eurythmics, Tears for Fears, New Order, Tom Petty. And also here you get kind of a listing of what would be on kind of sound and vision wise that week. So things on TV and radio that you might want to kind of keep an eye on. So they'd highlight things like Peel Session. So here you can see on Wednesday the 6th, they had a guy called Gerald in session. And lots of bits and pieces in there. Kind of cool films on TV, music things, concerts on radio. So they're highlighting that Sesame Street on Thursday the 7th featured George Benson. So there you go. And anything else of interest in there? Oh, on Sunday the 10th, yes, Movie Drum. This is the cult movie slot on BBC Two. Pretty much essential viewing if you're into this kind of stuff at the time. Hosted by Alex Cox, director of Repo Man. Very, very fond memories of watching Movie Drum. So, Moving on. Yeah, so this is like the big pop kind of feature of the week. They tend to have some kind of big pop focused feature of the week. And this week it's an interview with Bobby Brown, which does kind of skirt and touch on some of the drug rumours that were surrounding him at the time. Rumours which, of course, did kind of progress beyond beyond 1989. Okay, right into the heart of the NME now, and this is the album reviews, long play. So they never did. They only did singles of the week. They never did kind of an album of the week, or certainly not that I remember. So yeah, just your usual kind of short format reviews. Some highlighted over others. Different writers, and all kind of like just topped off with a mark out of 10. So what are the ones that we need to highlight this week? NWA. Straight Outta Compton, reviewed there by Stephen Wells in his own inimitable style. He wasn't terribly impressed with it. 6 out of 10. Edwin Pouncey enjoying L'Eau Rouge by the Young Gods there. 8 out of 10 for that one. What else? The Eurythmics, We 201, getting a 7. There's Deli for Deli. He's Deli for Deli reviewing Spaceman 3 Sound of Confusion and not liking it at all. 5 out of 10 there. I think this was kind of a cash-in re-release because this is the year that they would have been releasing Playing with Fire, which was a big kind of critical favourite, and Sound of Confusion was their first album. So yeah, Deli not really enjoying Sound of Confusion. And a selection of basically reviews of other albums that week, including things like Jello Biafra, Squeeze, Adiva, Nancy Griffith, Love and Rockets, yeah. So, moving on. Yes, tour news, record news. Yeah, just who was touring that week. Just some updates of who was doing the rounds. Some big indie names there of the day. Things like the Family Cat touring, doing a national tour of smaller venues. Mega City 4. Yeah. See the Young Gods there as well, doing a fairly small tour to coincide with their album release. No singles really standing out this week as being released. Not a lot beyond the albums that they reviewed on their review pages as well. I see Bitch Magnet are in there with their Umber album coming out. Bad Brains with the Quickness album. And the Telescopes, their debut album Taste, coming out there as well that week. So onto the gig guide. Yes, this was just the gigs of that week. So starting on the day of release on Wednesday the 6th, covering the weekend, the 9th, the kind of issue date of the NME, going through to the following Tuesday. So yeah, as ever, kind of dominated by London gigs, but always worth checking out for regional gigs if you weren't sure what was coming to your town. Yeah, okay. A few pages of just, live ads, bands doing the rounds. Yeah, lots of things going around. Richard Thompson, Bad Brains, Mighty Lemon Drops. Okay. So yeah, big feature on Reading Festival 1989. Again, this would have been happening on the August bank holiday weekend. So yeah, the music press would have been a week or so behind that in doing their big write-up. But yeah, headliners that year were New Order, the Pogues, and The Mission on the final night. The Friday night New Order set is kind of considered to be a bit of a legendary set for them. A lot of people think that is quite possibly one of the best concerts they ever did. Certainly the best festival appearance they ever made. But yeah, so these pages feature lots of reviews of the bands playing that weekend, lots of photos, some colour photos as well. So you'd be looking at bands like the Sugar Cubes, House of Love, My Bloody Valentine, New Model Army, Billy Bragg, Wonder Stuff, Butthole Surfers, and Pop Will Eat Itself. Loads and loads of others. Far too many to kind of name them all. But yeah, so lots of features about the bands of the weekend. And then yes, the live reviews, just the kind of the non-Reading reviews. The live review section would often be bigger, but clearly they'd spent a lot of time at the Reading Festival, so there were less kind of gig reviews this week. Well, there is a brief rundown of the WOMAD Festival. Yeah. As I said, this would normally be a bigger feature, but I think given the festival weekend that it just passed, there's less in that. Okay, yes, the classified pages. Yeah, if you're selling or buying records or wanting to meet people or hook up with people or musicians, this was what you could do. Pre-internet, eh? Yeah, this was then. Yeah, just kind of some key dates from the past that coincided with the issue dates. And of course the crossword. As usual, I started it, but never finished it. Fred fact, yes. Fred Deller. This was the guy you'd write to if you had, nerdy kind of geeky questions about, I don't know, band discographies, band lineups, band history, that kind of thing. And there would always be some kind of discography element to this page as well. So clearly in the previous issue, they covered the Fire Records discography part 1. So this is part 2 of that. See some names in there, features. Who have they got in there? Blue Airplanes, yes. Spaceman 3, Pulp. Close Lobsters, yeah. Perfect Disaster. Yeah, on the facing page, yeah. Just the Sound and Vision adverts, so yeah. I mean, this was kind of pretty crucial if you were living in a provincial or a small town and, you didn't have access to a decent record shop, then these kind of mail order places were an absolute godsend. I certainly made use of them. And the charts pages. Yeah, we'll probably kind of stop here for a second and I'll zoom in and we'll have a longer look at some of these. I'll just pan across them. But yeah, very interesting to see the sheer array of different charts that the NME were reporting on at this time. So you get like future rap charts, indie 45s and LPs, house charts, CD single charts, American charts. There's even a Latin top 10, a US hardcore top 10, country charts. Yeah, very big on charts. There's also some charts from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, just to give you some kind of historical context for this week throughout the years. Yeah. Anything else you should specifically pick out? Spiral Carpets at number 1 in the indie 45s. Stone Roses, number 1 in the indie LPs. Right on Time by Black Box being the number 1 record. Number 1 single, that is. Yeah. And as usual, I know that's what I call music at number 1 in the album charts. And finally, always the last page of the NME would be the angst page. This is basically their letters page. Be edited by a different person each week. This week it's Deli for Deli. And yeah, this was usually pretty jokey. Sometimes people would be sounding off a little about content they'd read in the previous week's issue or something that they didn't agree with or didn't like. Well, sometimes it was just people being just plain daft, but that was angst. And that was the NME. In the week of the 9th of September, 1989. Hope you've enjoyed looking through it.